This programme is proudly sponsored by BYD, the #1 electric vehicle in the world and the fastest growing brand in the UK car market. BYD in Super League Raw, building our dreams together. And the home of Super League Raw, the Bluebell in Warrington. Make this your pre- and post-game destination for the best food and drink in town. So good evening and welcome to Super League Raw Weekly. Another week has come and gone and we're here for more chat and debate on the greatest sport of all. Hopefully we've got a few from the Rugby League fan club with us tonight as well. Thanks to Dave for sharing that to his community this evening. How are we, gentlemen? In fact, let's start with Mr. Sale. How's your new house, Mr. Sale?
Sorry, carnage at the moment. I keep having to mute because of banging and crashing of things being put away. So yeah, it's a bit mental, but still managed to get on here at 8 o'clock, which I'm proud of.
Fantastic, all good fun. Somebody's already scanned the QR code. That's a bit early. Happy days. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. As always, some real good merriment on the way. Greg, we had the privilege of going to the Saints Media Day yesterday, and I'm pleased to say that the special on that is coming on Thursday. It was a good afternoon, Mr. Nixon, wasn't it?
It was a very, very good afternoon. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Saints players were great. I had a good chat with them. Some of the new signings were there. It's looking really, really exciting for Saints this season, I think, with the size of those new lads he brought in. David Clemmer, my word. If he says it's Friday, it's Friday. You know what I mean? He's a big lad. Shane Wright's a big lad, but David Clemmer, my word. But yeah, great afternoon in the Brewdog Bar in Liverpool. Very generous they were with everybody too, which added to the fun and games.
It did indeed. Always nice to have a punk IPA on any afternoon, I have to say. And today, yours truly has been at the Wigan Warriors. And we've got a special Wigan Warriors mini doc that will land on Friday for our cherry and white supporters. So getting around a little bit, our Super League Raw, other things to look forward to. We've got Tara Jones tomorrow, MBE. We're doing a one-to-one with Tara. That'll be coming out as well this week. So Super League Raw, very, very busy, giving you loads of great content. As always going to be a pleasure to have your company. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we did promise you this is going to be our biggest season yet. And we have, well, I'm delighted to announce this. For those of you who've watched the end credits for the last 2 weeks, you will have seen a show that is going to be coming your way. Nobody's doing what Super League Raw is doing in 2026. And we are really looking forward to this, because this will be landing for your downloading pleasure next Tuesday morning. Can't wait. Here we go. So there you go, the brand new podcast from Super League Raw Ladies Tackle Talk. Men's Super League has never sounded like this. And tonight we are joined by the host of this new show, Steph Makey.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
I keep getting the surname wrong. But Steph, welcome to Super League Raw Weekly. This, of course, we've been talking about this now for about 6 months or so. What can people expect from the all-new Tackle Talk podcast?
So no offence to you guys, Dave, but obviously Super League Raw is a very heavy male contingent. And in the background, what a lot of these people don't say is there are lots of women also that get involved in the WhatsApp groups and the chats and have lots to say. But obviously it's a different entity entirely coming onto a podcast and actually having your public opinion and putting it out there for scrutiny. And obviously Dave approached me about 6 months ago and said, how do you fancy giving this a shot? So a few weeks before Christmas, we went out to the female participants of Super League Raw, got them all onto a Zoom chat, and we said, let's do this. And fantastically, they've all bought into it. So we go live next week with the first show. Really excited for it. And the purpose of it is to give the women a voice. You know, we have an opinion on this game. We've followed it for as long as you guys. And just because we're female doesn't mean to say that we're not as important and our opinion isn't as valid as everybody else's. So we're here to give that message and, you know, to represent the wider female community of rugby league and Super League. And we really hope that eventually our community will grow, just like your community in Super League Raw. And we'll have a little bit of inter-Super League Raw rivalry going on.
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, every time we get together as, the members get together, you spot on. We've got some very knowledgeable fans of both sexes. And this is very unique in the fact there is nothing out there like this. It's an opportunity for the women that watch the greatest game of all to have their say. And we've spoke about this, Steph, haven't we? That men and women, we do see the world in different ways. We see rugby league in different ways. A lot of similarities. But if you can die, Greg, can you do it quietly and go on mute?
Sorry.
We don't want to hear that. But genuinely, we come at it from different ways, Steph, don't we? So it's going to be interesting to hear your point of view. I, for one, really looking forward to the first show.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's given a safe space as well for the women that get involved in Super League Raw to actually come on and feel like their voices are going to be heard and that they're going to be valued. And I'm not saying that they're not, but when there's, when they're massively outnumbered by men, it's really difficult, isn't it, to put yourself out there and have an opinion and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm hoping this will give them a really sort of open space for them to come and, come into their own and get involved with all of this. And I was just telling you before the show started, I've got a friend who was only talking to me yesterday, in fact, about how she posted something on a forum on the internet about an opinion of a game over the weekend in one of the friendlies, and a lot of her ideas were ridiculed and poo-pooed by men, actually. And she actually said to me, what's the point of me even having an opinion when people just jump on board and, they've got something to say, they're just quick to jump on me. And I said, well, you know what I'm doing? Come and join me. Come where your opinion is going to be valued, And she was like, brilliant. So, that's what it's for.
And I'm unashamedly going to say this is aimed absolutely for the women who go and watch the Betfred Super League. But that's not to say that the men can't listen and get involved, because I, for one, will, and I know the boys on the screen will as well. We'll give you every ounce of encouragement. We're really looking forward to you getting going. So the first episode, the first ever Super League Raw Ladies Tackle Talk, will be available for your downloading pleasure next Tuesday morning for your trip into work. It's going to be a bit of a sensational first show, I'm sure. On behalf of us all, Steph, thanks for taking the project on. And I know that you're planning for it. Keep the planning going well. Keep the vibe going. And we will we'll check in with you again as the season goes on. Well done.
Looking forward to it, Dave. Thank you very much.
Absolute legend. So there you go. Steph Makey there, taking it on. Outstanding. She's going to be the host of this brand new podcast. Boys, great. Absolutely fantastic that the women that watch the greatest game now have their own podcast, Joel.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's what we need. And it's what rugby league needs. Because the thing is, it's not just women talking about the women's rugby league. This is the women talking about the men's rugby league.
Correct.
And that's going to be a very, very interesting take on it. And we've known from a lot of our members that are female. They are extremely knowledgeable, and they whoop all of our backsides in the quizzes, especially when it comes to Dawn Kirkby. So very well done, Steph. We 100% echo what Dave said. We will be watching week in, week out.
We most certainly will. Right, in the interest of pace, let's get Danny out. Here he comes.
Hi guys, Danny Walker here. Come and join me down at the Blue Bell on the 18th of February for Alfie's fundraiser. See you all down there.
So there you go. That was Danny Walker, of course, who is headlining the action for Alfie at the Bluebell on the 18th of February, 7 till 10 p.m. And tonight we are announcing our newest recruit, George Flanagan, the Huddersfield Giants sensation, will be joining George Whitby, Steve McNamara and Danny Walker at the Bluebell for the Action for Alfie fundraiser, the Action for Alfie wish list. Going to be an outstanding evening. Big thank you to Joel for getting that one under the line. Two of the most exciting prospects in the Betfred Super League will be joining us for that live appearance at the Bluebell. All funds going to Alfie sales. We would love you to join us. If you're listening on the podcast, go to our website and to the shop. Only £12.50 a ticket. It includes your supper, and there's more guests to be announced. Greg, George Flanagan will be in the house.
Fantastic. I'm beginning to regret saying he might not be a starter at the beginning of the season. Now he's going to turn up and ask me a few questions about that. No, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Two great stars of the future there, as well as Danny Walker and Steve Mack. I can't wait for this. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic night. If you love your rugby league and you want to give to a worthwhile cause, get down there, get your tickets, get down there, have a word, have a chat with these players. It's going to be a fantastic occasion.
Yeah, I mean, Steph, we did one last year with Earl Crabtree and with Benny Westwood. This is going to be, I think, a little bit bigger. We always try and get bigger every single year. There are more people. Steph's feeling the pressure. He knows he's got to deliver some Leopards for us. But ultimately, this is going to be a great night of community and raising funds for a little boy that puts a smile on all of our faces. It's going to be great, isn't it?
It is. It's going to be fantastic and great to have George. Well, both Georges, two of the most exciting young prospects in Super League at the moment, who are going to be attending. So, I urge anyone who's got any interest in rugby league or Super League to get down there, because last year it was great with Benny Westwood and Earl Crabtree. I think this year is going to be better, and obviously Danny Walker's going to be very interested about his England mission and all that kind of thing, which we'll cover, and also his hopes for the season. He's going to lead from the front for Warrington, because they were certainly a different side when he was in it last year. So yeah, it's going to be a really good night and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and of course, Steve McNamara as well. That'll be an interesting conversation that we'll have with Steve, of course, new coach there at Warrington. Like I say, we are expecting other representatives from other clubs as well. So keep it posted over the next couple of weeks. More to be announced. But hey, there's only limited availability. The Bluebell isn't the biggest pub in the world, so you've got to act quick. You want to be in that room, getting your autographs, listening to some great entertainment, and we have got some unbelievable raffle prizes as well. Really, really good. And the raffle's not going to cost a fortune, £5 a strip or 3 strips for a tenner. But some of these prizes are absolutely unbelievable. So you really do want to be in that room. For those who, that's a bit of Super League Raw business. We've got that out of the way. Now we're going to get into the show. So if you join us for the first time, this is pretty much where we go at the beginning of every single show. It's time for this. Banging or hanging? Yes, there's only one way to start Super League Raw Weekly, and that is with a bit of hanging or banging. And this is how we get through the news very quickly. There's lots of news out there. We want to get through it because we've got some squads to go through tonight and get some proper debate going. So let's kick off with you, Mr. Scholes. Toulouse have finally got round to showing us their threads. Here we go. Come on, let's get into it. We've done every other team. We may as well do Toulouse. What are we making of the blue ensemble, Joel? Do you like that?
Yeah, very, very smart. I think it's very simple, but sometimes the most simple kits can be the ones that can, I think, have the most, eye candy. And they're really nice then. I think they're very smart, and it's very classic Toulouse, is that.
So it's a banger from Joel. Greg, one word, hanging or banging?
Hanging, love it.
Steph?
Yeah, banging.
Okay, that's a vote of confidence for the blue strip. But what about the white strip, boys? Greg, we'll start with you. Here it comes. Look at this little beauty. What do we make of the away?
I like that even better than the home one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very nice kit. Stylish. I think that's going to be a big seller in the south of France.
Absolutely.
So that's banging for me.
Absolutely. And do you know what, Steph? What I really love about Toulouse is, they've got a bit of nostalgia about them. It's lovely that they're doing the inner Rocky Horror Show there. The hands are on the hips. There's going to be a step to the right in a minute. There's no doubt about it. Where's Richard O'Brien when you need him, Steph? Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Do you like the kit, Steph?
Très bien.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Oui. And Joel?
Yeah, Reg is right. It is a better kit, and I think they've done that on purpose because that's what most of us are going to be seeing more regularly than the blue ones. So well done to Toulouse.
Yeah, it's nice. Some lovely kits knocking around Super League this year. Right, let's keep it going. We'll go with you, Greg. Banging or hanging, Sheffield follow Lock Lane in switching the round 3 tie from Sheffield to the Halliwell Jones Stadium. A 6:30 kickoff. I think it's the 6th of February. I think that is.
Yeah, it is.
Banging. Well, I know what you're going to say because you don't have to travel for it. Banging or hanging, Greg?
Well, it's banging. It's banging for me because, as you say, I don't have to go to Sheffield. Yeah. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago where it's kind of turned this idea that the Super League clubs come in late in the competition and play away to generate interest in other areas to try and give the Challenge Cup a boost. I think, for Warrington fans, it's great. They don't play at the Don Valley Arena Stadium anymore, Sheffield, so they've only got I think it's a 2,000, 3,000 capacity stadium now. Kind of makes a mockery of what we were trying to achieve with the early rounds of the Challenge Cup a little bit. So in that respect, it's hanging, but a personal point of view, and as long as it gets some revenue into the Sheffield coffers.
Well, that's why I'm disagreeing with you, because I think this is exactly what these clubs should be doing, because they should get a bigger slice of the pie.
I don't disagree with you there, Dave. I'm just my issue is it's kind of the whole point was that these teams would play at home to the bigger teams, and now we're getting all the away teams, all the home teams are saying, well, actually, can we play at your place? So it makes that's my issue.
I don't disagree with that. However, as we know, and the supporters in the lower leagues tend to be partisan. They will travel. It's the hardcore.
Well, I hope so.
The hardcore, and they'll get more money. And what these teams in the lower leagues are desperate for is more money. Steph mentioned it when we talked about round 3 the other week in terms of stewarding and security and all of that type of thing in terms of the cost of that. I think it's inspired. Really like this. Sheffield travel to the wire. Coming to Mr. Sale. Dual registration, Mr. Sale, has been pretty much ripped up, and we're going to have 1 week loans in the 2026 season. Only 4 loanees can play in any one game at the team that loans them. And as far as salary cap relief goes, you must be loaned for a month or more. Does this clean it up a little bit? And are you in favour of the dual reg going and it being a bit more fluid?
Well, first things first, it's a good job you didn't ask me that last question, because I'd still be going no about that.
I know, and that's why I purposely didn't. We're moving on to dual registration.
But yes, dual registration. Yes, I think it's going to clean it up. Just having it week by week. There could be some for players. You do want some consistency. That's the only downside to it. So they know if they're going for a month or a season long or whatever, then that's that. But it should tidy it up. So I will reserve judgment. It needs to play its course, but banging for me that.
Banging, outstanding. I'll tell you what, the chat's a bit quiet this evening.
It is, isn't it? I noticed.
Very, very quiet this evening.
Open Davis as well, though.
Yeah, that's not me this time, is it?
No, he'll come back on now, I think.
So while he's away, Steph, do you agree with my stance on that Challenge Cup?
Oh no, we're not going back there. No, we're not going back there. It looks like I've saved everybody. I've come back at the right time. Right, okay, but yeah, very odd. The chat seems a little bit low. Anyway, please just write something in the chat. Let us know that you're there. Right, where are we going to go next? We'll go back to Joel. Joel, Cam Smith, no sooner as he wiped the mud from his boots, from his testimonial, he's off to Trinity. I think, for me, Darryl Powell, it's a good acquisition, isn't it, for Trinity, this one?
Very much so for Trin, yeah. It's a real shame for Leeds. But yeah, for Trin, it's massive. It definitely shows that they mean business and they want to still be in that top 6. They don't want to, they don't want to forfeit their place in the playoffs this time. So that they've clearly... they're going out with a bang with that one. So, and bearing in mind, just a few years ago, we had him as our number 113. So, very good acquisition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have an issue with the chat this evening, which is very, 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 very odd. Very, very odd. Yeah, we definitely have. So apologies for that. We're not seeing your chat, but I'm going to keep an eye on it live on YouTube. So yeah.
There is a problem with YouTube today with live chats.
There you go. Well, luckily enough, I will keep an eye on it. And Mark Hill, looking forward to Tackle Talk, and he's bought us a pint. So, Mark Hill, thank you very much indeed. Super Chats is open. Mark Hill, straight in there. Good man, Mark. And like I say, we'll keep a look on that. Boys, banging for Wakefield Trinity. Cam Smith going to Trin?
Banging, yeah.
Banging. Absolutely great move.
Yeah, great acquisition, that one. Joe Offingawi, Greg, has been announced as part of the leadership team very early in his Leopards career. The big bruiser down the middle, going to have a bit more influence at the Leopards this year. Is that a good thing?
I think so, yeah. I think everybody needs a pack leader. Every team needs a pack leader, and obviously he's one of those that's stood up and taken that mantle on board. So I think that's a good move. Banging for me.
Yeah, Steph, happy with that, mate? A banger for you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think Isaac Louis and Lachlan Lamb are the captains as well. So really good leadership group, that, and lots of experience. So very, very impressed with Joe when he came in mid-season. So yeah, great move that by Adrian Lamb.
Fantastic. And in the chat, everybody patting Steph on the back for taking the helm of the ladies' team talk. Everybody's looking forward to that. And we do have Super League Raw royalty in the chat. Mr. Matt Timms is with us this evening, gentlemen. Just a little break, just a quick break, actually, because I've just seen it. From Banging or Hanging. I just want to pay tribute to Adam Gledhill, who has retired this week, having played for the Batley Bulldogs now for 12 seasons, only 32, 247 professional appearances over 12 years, been at Batley all of his career. So on behalf of everybody at Super League Raw, Adam, we hope you enjoy your retirement, and thank you very much indeed for your service to the Batley Bulldogs, sir. Absolutely great effort from you. Right, Mr. Sale, we'll go to you because you were next. I know I let you cheat there. I let you come in on Joe, but as it's your team, why not? The Robins, Steph, have got a blue plaque for their treble. Did you see this? They got a little blue plaque. If just as if they needed anything else to remind them of last season, they have now been bestowed one of those wonderful little blue plaques that says that they won a treble. Is this banging or hanging, Steph?
Well, it's banging for the Hull KR, and I think because it was so long as well between them winning a Challenge Cup, to get significant trophies is a massive milestone for them. So I'm sure their fans are overjoyed with it. And I'm going to say it's banging. We should celebrate club successes more. And if it raises awareness and gets even more people packed into Craven Park, happy days.
Indeed, and welcome to Kyle Utterson, our newest member. Great to have you on board, Kyle. Kyle, if you send us an email, info@superleagueraw.com, with all your details, we'll get you to the Heritage Wall and make sure you get everything that you need to become a part of what's coming, all the exclusive interviews, and of course, the all-important inclusion into the community. So, Kyle Utterson, welcome to Super League Raw, and you can join him, become a member, do the QR code. We're only getting bigger and better all the time. Right, okay, back to Joel, the fastest selling Magic weekend on record. See how I'm missing Steph out on his favourite topics. Fastest selling Magic weekend, Joel, on record. 47,000 tickets already sold. Hanging or banging?
It's banging, and I'll tell you why it's banging. For one reason, it shows where the sport's going. It's clearly growing, and it's not going backwards. People are wanting rugby league, and they're wanting it in England. For where it is and the competition itself, that's a different debate. But the fact that people are wanting to buy tickets so quickly shows that the product that we've got on the field is really, really good quality. And we need to celebrate that.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Tony Pennington has just gone in for a pint. Well done, Tony. Good to have your company this evening. Reggie, back to you. Matty Staunton has signed an extended contract at Wakefield Trinity 2029. And Della Powell has come out this week and really thrown some weight behind Matty Staunton. Good business this for Trinity again?
I think so. It just shores things up a little, doesn't it? It gets a bit of steadiness in the ship there, that people are being tied down to contracts. Not that they mean a lot these days, but it's kind of steadying the ship and making sure there's kind of a plan going forward. I think yeah, good bit of business, banging.
Good bit of it. Everybody saying banging for Matty Staunton? Anybody It seems to be a banging show tonight. There's not many hangers, is there? We, of course, reviewed Castleford Tigers in the absence of Joel last week. And since then, they've announced Christian Mapapalangi. Got that out in one go. Fantastic. Who's signed for Castleford, a centre for them. Might put a bit of pressure this on Darnell McIntosh. Steph, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I did highlight it, didn't I, in terms of Darnell's form for the Leopards last year after his injury. Didn't seem to be the same player. I did see that. I think Seen is a great centre, and I think he'll go really well. I definitely see them strengthening the centre position with this one. He's obviously not got loads of NRL experience. He's more, I think it's Queensland Cup he's been playing, but. An unknown again, isn't it? And they do tend to, especially in the centre positions, be pretty decent when they come into the competition. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing him, and I'm sure the Cas fans are really excited by that signing.
Yeah, AD Simpson will be saying they can win this.
Gone again.
Anyway, about that Challenge Cup.
Yeah. Did you agree with what I said?
Yeah.
Interesting point though.
The Gremlins are out for me this evening. I do apologise. Carry on.
It was how incredible it is that these players that we've been getting, and Lee Leopards have been a massive spearhead of this, coming from Queensland Cup and New South Wales, how good they've been. And the amount of clubs that are signing these players now are really showing that they're impressed with the quality. And this just makes their NRL status great for when they get older and they want to go back home.
Well, I think what's going to be interesting tonight, lads, is when we get to the York signings. Mark Applegarth has gone for players on the up, 23, 24-year-olds, which I think, and when you've seen the likes of Tessie New come over and those type of players, there's some great players down there, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they all go. This lad's only 23. So it's going to be very interesting.
Caius Fertilli, Tom Amone.
Yeah, exactly. Littered with him. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And Reggie, one for you. We know that you're a patriot, sir. The Princess of Wales today went to the Trin. So a little, and the reason we're mentioning this is it's eyes on the sport. Obviously she's a patron of the game, and great to see her go into arguably one of the most up-and-coming teams in Super League.
Yeah, let's hope it continues. Let's hope she gets around more rugby league teams. She's had, there's been some issues with her health and whatever, but hopefully and thankfully they're behind her. So as the position she's got for the rugby league, long may she start to go around more and more clubs and see what's going on, see what they do for the communities. And as you say, it gets the eyes on the sport. Like when Harry was, I think was he president of the RFL a couple of years ago? That got eyes on the sport as well. So all for that kind of thing. Anything that gives the sport a positive publicity, I'm in favour of.
Absolutely. I think everybody would agree that this is a banger, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
On the sport. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, happy days. All good. Marvelous. Fantastic stuff. Right. So that's it. Any other news, boys? I don't want to move us on if you've seen something in there, but I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Just one point I wanted to make, going back to Magic Weekend. It'd be interesting to see how many tickets have been sold on Merseyside, because when I went to the Ashes test there last year, there were loads of Liverpool and Everton fans who'd gone to see a rugby league game for the first time who were talking about it in the queues. So it'd be interesting if there's a breakdown to see how many they've actually sold on Merseyside, how many tickets from the area.
Joel, I'm getting it tonight. Callum Calver's going in saying, I've got your dodgy Wi-Fi. Hey, unbelievable. It's all kicking off down here. Unbelievable stuff. I don't know what's going on. I think what it was, actually, I had my phone near. A bit of technology on this side. I've moved it now, so hopefully that might have been what it was. Just getting a little bit giddy.
Let me tell you, it's a relief that it's not me.
And me.
Absolutely. Oh, mate, you're crystal, mate. You're crystal. Well, I'm actually going to bring this back up. We're not going back over it, but it's just a quick way for me to just do a little bit of moving and shaking behind the scenes. Right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Look at this. Here we are. A brand new autobiography has hit the shelves. It's The Only Way I Know, Andy Farrell. rugby league purists out there will, I'm sure, love to read about Andy's career, and we're giving a copy away for free. That's right. We've got this is a new thing that we're going to be doing this year. We're going to be finding some interesting rugby league stuff, and every now and again on the show, we're going to give something away for free, and that's what this is. So this is what you've got to do. If you want your opportunity to get a free copy of Andy Farrell's new autobiography winging its way in the post to you this week, all you have to do is this. You have to like, you have to share, you have to comment, and on YouTube, you have to hype and subscribe. We need you to subscribe on YouTube. We want you to hype the show. We want you to share it across all your social media platforms. And once you've done all that, you drop me an email at info@superleagueraw.com. That's info@superleagueraw.com. You can go through the website to do that. And all you have to say is Andy Farrell. That's it. Just put on there Andy Farrell, your contact details. And you could be getting a free Andy Farrell book. It's as simple as that. Help us to grow the show, and you're going to get a bit of reading material. For those of you who are going to Vegas and this, that, the other, hey, you have something to read on the plane going over there. So, Andy Farrell, the only way I know, a free copy is up for grabs. Just, like I say, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hype. Let us know that you've done it. We'll then audit it, and we will be doing a draw, and somebody is going to win that book. So there you go. Right, that's a new thing for this season. Let's get into the Leeds Rhinos squad. There's no doubt about it, boys. It was an improved Leeds Rhinos last year. We spoke about the Brad Arthur effect. We've been there, we've done that. But there's no doubt about it. It was an improved Leeds Rhinos season in 2025. For the purposes of the podcast, I'll quickly go through their squad numbers. Now, don't get me wrong, they have also announced that obviously the reserves will, of course, get squad numbers. They've just not been announced yet. I mean, there's a lad called Zach Lloyd out there who, being Greg saw in the academy final, what a player. He's going to be in second row. So this is not their complete squad. There is an underbelly to this, but these are the only ones they've given shirt numbers to at this time. Lockie Miller is at 1. Mikasivo, we've all been waiting to see him. He could be lighting up Super League this year. On the other side, Ryan Hall. In the centres, Harry Newman before his departure to the NRL, and Ash Handley. In the halves will be Brodie Croft and Man of Steel Jake Connor. Michael Aduletsky and Tom Holroyd, the two at 8 and 10, with Jared O'Connor at 9. Callum Watkins gets the 11. James McDonnell, the dream teamer of 2025, he's at 12. Keenan Palacia, he's at 13. Probably the big reason why Cameron Smith will be moving on. Palacia now favoured for that 13 shirt. Chris Hankinson, he's at 14. Cooper Jenkins at 15. Ethan O'Neill in from the Leopards, he's at 16. Cam Smith down to 17. We'll come back to Max Simpson in a minute. Jeremiah Matautia, he's at 19. Presley Cassell, who we all showed glimpses last year, still a long way to go in his development, but a very, very good player indeed. He's at 20. Alfie Edgill, new contract, he's at 21. Riley Lum at 22. Then we've got Danny Levi, coming back, having played for Huddersfield. You remember him from his Huddersfield days. He's back in Super League. Ned McCormack, that's the name to remember. Another very talented young player indeed. Ben Littlewood and Tom Nicholson-Watton. Of course, we've seen him make his debut in Super League already. Before I go to the departed and the new, just a word on Max Simpson. I don't know what ladder this lad walked under. I really don't. But again, it would appear that he's done his other ACL at the weekend. For the last 3 seasons, he's missed because of injury. It's so heartbreaking. It really, really is. We wish Max a speedy recovery. Boys, like me, I'm not a Leeds fan, but this pretty much upset me weekend, really. You just don't want to see this, do you?
No, you don't want to see any player suffer a serious injury, no matter who you support. And this young lad, he just seems to get himself back on the trail to coming back and cementing his place in the squad or in the first team, and he just gets injured again. It's just it's a real shame. It really is. Feel for the lad.
Yeah, Nige Bennett, speaking of knees, quite timely this, Nige. Nige, first Super League role after his knee replacement. Have a drink on me. Hey, he couldn't have planned it any better, could he? Anyway, there you go. Unbelievable, as we're talking about knees. But no, all jokes aside, we do wish Max a speedy recovery. Right, departed. Matt Frawley, of course, gone. Andy Ackers, gone. James Bentley, Sam Lizone, Morgan Gannon, Jack Sinfield. Steph, when you see that list of departed players, there's some quality there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I think there's only 2 that are going to really be missed genuinely by the starting team, though, and that's Gannon and Lizone. I think they're the 2 big ones for me that are going. Obviously, the others had impacts in their own way. But they're two ones that are going to have to be replaced by Leeds. And I think they have got the replacements there. They brought in some good players. Ethan O'Neill's going to go really well for Leeds. He was great at Leeds until he got his injury late on in the season, then get back in the side. Gutted from a Leeds perspective to see him go, but being at a big club like Leeds, he will thrive in that environment, and he's a workhorse, and he will hopefully bring what Morgan Gannon brought in that respect.
Humility, Mr. Sale. Humility. Hey, are Leeds not a big club?
They're not big as Leeds.
Well, I'm not saying they are. Come on. Surely you've got to be starting to say they're a big club at some point.
No. I hope so. in a few years, maybe. But
you notice he's twitching on his chair. It's like he's on a fence, boys. It's like he's on a fence, and he's got the spike firmly in the wrong place. Come on, Mr. Sale. It's time for them to deliver. I'm not going to let you off this year. They've got to deliver this year. Joel, Danny Lee.
You should have delivered for 70 years.
Well, yeah. Well, saying that, no, mate. We've got a few more Challenge Cups than you, but we'll leave that there. Yeah. Anyway, but Joel, Danny Levy. I mean, you saw this lad close up at Huddersfield, and I remember at the time you were talking to me. You were genuinely gutted to see him go, weren't you?
I was. I've never actually been as gutted for any player to leave the Giants than Danny. He was an exceptional player. I'd go as far to say as he was head and heels above everyone else in his skill, his speed, what he could do, his creativity, and his rugby knowledge. Whenever he was on the field, everyone else played really well around him. He just lifts the spirits. He's a very good ball runner, and that's what you want for a 9. He's he just puts you always on the front foot, always, and his defence rate is second to none, or certainly was when he was at Huddersfield. I don't know if any of that's changed since he went back to NRL, but certainly when his time we had at Huddersfield, it was the biggest thing that everyone was gutted about. I just hope that he doesn't do what he did at Huddersfield for Leeds and he goes back home halfway through the season. But maybe it's because he's gone to Leeds where he might stay. It's a far, far bigger club. So
yeah, and of course then there's Metalci who's come from North Queensland as well. I mean, I look at that. I mean, Greg,
yeah.
Is that Leeds were brilliant last season? They were brilliant. But can they go again? Looking at the departed and the new, Jake, I mean, again, as good as Jake Connor was last year, and he was exceptional and should have played in the Ashes. I can't remember too many times where Jake Connor has backed up year on year. So there's that. We've had Brodie Croft do, brilliant at Salford, then went off the boil, had a reasonable season, I felt, last year. Do you think that Leeds can improve on with what's going on around them in terms of the other squads that have developed? Do you see them getting above 4th this season, or do you think they might get drawn a bit further down into that battle for 6th? Where do you see them?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because Jake Connor, again, as great as the season he had last year, and he says he sometimes is guilty of not backing that up. He does have a point to prove. Again, not with Leeds this time, but on an international front, he has a point to prove with a World Cup coming up. So, Brodie Croft, I think Jake Connor brought the best out of Brodie Croft last season because he took a little bit of the pressure off him. They brought in players like O'Neill and Matautia. I think that's how you say it, Matautia.
Correct.
I think there's no reason why they shouldn't be in the mix. They should be top 6. And I don't. Yeah, and I don't. But I'm not giving away my predictions just yet. But with that squad, that they've improved in some areas. O'Neill, as Steph said, is going to be a great addition if he stays fit. They must have a strong squad to keep a player like Cam Smith, who has had his injury issues, but when he's fully fit and he's on form, Cam Smith is one of the best 13s in the comp. So, there's no reason why they shouldn't be pushing for a top 4 place this season. They are renowned for being slow starters, and sometimes that's cost them in the past. But I don't see why not. Why shouldn't they? They build on last season. They really could go well this season.
They were great entertainers, and I thought
Yeah.
when we said Callum Watkins was inspired halfway through the season, he really was. Callum had a great season, and I think he's extended for another year as well on top of that. So, good luck to him. Anybody got any final comments in terms of the Leeds squad? Joel, anything from you?
I wouldn't mind tying it into like a bit of a prediction almost for them if you're all right with that, because with the likes of Lockie Miller, Sevo possibly playing, without any injuries, Palacia, and you've got then Levi and Matautia in, and O'Neill. It's a different type of squad this year, and I think it's an improved squad for sure, by quite a bit of a margin. So Leeds should be. And obviously, we're not going on my actual prediction yet, but Leeds should be aiming for 4th with that squad. It's a very good squad. But as we said before we went on air, this is the first time I think we just almost can't call the top 6 yet. It's just so difficult. It's the hardest year I think it's ever had to be to predict a playoff ending where you'd have in your top 6. But Leeds must be fighting for, the upper end of that.
It's a good point that Joel makes, Steph, because, for me, and we've still got quite a few squads still to go through, but as I sit here now, Steph, I genuinely don't know who I'm going to put bottom on my prediction on the show before the kickoff of the season. I don't know who's in my top 6. I don't know who I'm sitting here now. I still haven't decided who I think's going to win it. I think this, unlike many years, it just feels like a complete lottery.
Yeah, it is. It's there's so many unknowns, and we get unknowns every season. But then you throw into it three brand new teams, which we've never had before. I don't think since Super League was incepted. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But for me, on the Leeds front, Leeds were exceptional last year. But for a mind-boggling loss to Catalan, would have finished above Leeds. They'd have been 3rd. I think with Sevo coming in, and more importantly, you've got Levi who's replacing Akers, who's definitely underperformed since he's been at Leeds. There's no reason why Leeds can't win the whole thing for me. If Levi really hits stride straight on, because it's such a key pivotal position. And that for me is such an upgrade on what Andy Akers, not what Andy can do, but what he's delivered while he's been at Leeds. That is such an upgrade for me. And then you throw into the mix Ethan O'Neill, who, if he can stay injury free, as Reggie said, could be brilliant. He will be a fan favourite at Leeds, I guarantee it. So there's no reason why Leeds can't go all the way and win the league leaders and get to a grand final this year for me. They are that good of a team. But like anything, they'll need luck. With their injuries, if they get injuries to key players, like with every team, that could affect them. But if they can stay injury free, there's no. I think when you said Leo got to deliver, I think Leeds have got to deliver, Dave.
Yes, they do. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have got to deliver. Lots of teams. You could argue all of them, I would say. Good to have Phil Webster with us. Phil Webster in the chat, and Phil said that Connor's 32 this year, and that's old for a halfback. Not so sure. I'd just say Adam Reynolds. For Adam Reynolds in playing in the hardest comp in rugby league, and arguably one of the better players last season in the NRL until he picks up his not reg, would you say?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't think he certainly doesn't play like a 32-year-old Jake Connor. I personally think this could be his kind of his peak of form at this age. He's had his issues. He's had his issues with injuries. He's had his issues with maybe attitude, and maybe at 32 he's finally grown up and he's ready to kind of fulfill the skills that he's got.
Yeah,
no, I don't think age is a barrier these days.
I just hope that Jake. I just genuinely hope that Jake backs up, and I think that yes, he's won the Man of Steel. He answered a lot of critics last season, but I think if he goes again this year, all of a sudden he's starting to be that player that we always felt he could be. One season doesn't make anything, but if he could back up this year, I think he'd probably right a lot of wrongs in his own career if he could back up this year. So we'll be interested to see how he goes on. Right. Again, if you're new to the show, here comes our youngest reporter. Here comes Little O.
What Would All of Us Say is proudly sponsored by South Coast Lane Carpets. From shag pile to vinyl, nylon to wool, you are guaranteed to find the right fit for your home. Contact them today and tell them Oliver sent you. This is What Would All of Us Say at Super League Raw. As the season gets closer, we're seeing a number of friendlies take place. Hull KR had their only friendly at the weekend, playing pretty much their academy side, which means the first team hasn't actually played together before the opening league game. It's a big opportunity for the academy players as they get experience against other Super League clubs, and it shows Hull KR do believe in their youth system. But on the other hand, the first team won't have had proper game time together, so how they put their training into practice will be tested in the first game. I do understand we want to make sure that there are no injuries, as we've seen at other teams, so it will be interesting to see whether Rovers start fast because they're fresh, or whether the lack of game time shows in the opening rounds. What do you think, Super League Raw?
So there you go, Little Ol. Good to see Little Ol, as always. Always a pleasure to see the little man. Talking about friendlies there. Yeah, I mean, look, we say this every year. It's difficult to read too much, especially these ones this weekend. When you actually look at the squads who played, I mean, even Saints. I mean, Saints were out 40 points to 10 over Castleford, but Castleford's second half really started to swap and change. It was 16-6 at half time. Before the changes started. Leeds, of course, in their game, that was 16-12 at half time. And then, of course, the silliness started. Hull FC Giants, 10-8 half time. And then, of course, KR, who, let's be fair, did pick when that was a mix. It looked a mismatch when you saw those two squads at the weekend, and not really surprised to see a Trinity 34-6 win with regards to that. Anybody read anything into this weekend's games, really? Other than, I mean, I'll go there where Saints were concerned. I watched it. I bought the game for £1.99. I wanted to see what they were about. And without spoiling the mini doc that's coming on the Saints Media Day, and that's coming on Thursday, members keep an eye out for that. What I saw was a team that clearly the shackles were off. The support play was there. They looked hungry in attacking phases. It's going to be interesting to see how they go against Warrington in round one. It really, really is. But apart from that, I didn't take anything from the weekend. Joel, your Giants, of course, your Giants played. Did you? What was your take on it? Any real fallout for you?
Yeah, so the main idea behind this was to get some of the academy lads some game time to see what it's like to play in these types of environments, which was really good for them, and they showed up pretty well. And this will kind of explain a little bit to Ollie, to ease his mind about KR, is that these pre-season friendlies are done on the purpose for certain types of training. Remember, this is still part of the pre-season. So what the coaches are doing is they're wanting to see certain players do certain types of either show certain types of skills or have certain type of plays that they will look to take into the in season when season starts. So for KR, I wouldn't worry about not having your full players out, because the thing is that KR are a different quality. They are an elite club of players, and because of what happened last year, they're riding high on confidence. So they're not as needed to have much of a pre-season friendly as much as some clubs like we do at Huddersfield. We need that consistency and that cohesion, because going into a season like we are doing, everyone's expecting us not to do well, and Huddersfield want to do everything they can to try and prove everyone wrong. So when you look at that and see it from that standpoint, you realise that this is done on purpose, and it's not just a willy-nilly, I'm going to put out these plays for today. It's all part of the camp they've got.
Yeah. Steph, anything from you? Are we happy to move on?
No, I think friendlies are designed, obviously, to give game time to new players and squad players, and just to get a bit of the dust of the cobwebs blown off, isn't it? But also to give some clubs much needed financial boost as well. So there's a couple of reasons for them. I wouldn't read anything into a friendly. I remember Lee in the Championship beating Warrington one year, and it was just a friendly. It was, Warrington had put half of their kids out. So, but we got really excited about it. It was great at the time. But yeah, I think it's more for fringe players and for fans to get some much needed rugby league under their belts, and also a bit of a financial boost for some clubs as well.
That said, Reggie, League take on Warrington this Friday. Yeah. Should be a game.
Should be interesting to see what teams are put out. But I agree with what both Joel and Steph have said. These things are sometimes they can be disguised as a testimonial. I think that game for Saints was Matthew Lee's testimonial game, and it is to look at new signings, to look at reserves and academy players. We had a good win against Widnes a few weeks ago, where in the second half it was basically reserves and academy team. So yeah, Steph's right. It's and Joel's right. Don't read much into it. The coaches will know. They'll know now what their starting 13 is, and they will trust those players to be able to do their jobs, but be kind of confident in the knowledge that if they have to bring other players in, then they've seen what they can do. They'll have a better idea of what they can do, and there'll be no kind of qualms about bringing those players in when needed.
Fabulous. I'm changing my mind. I'm suddenly agreeing with Phil, reference his comment around Jake Connor. Alex Sharp has said in the chat that he's 31. On that basis, he's definitely over the hill, isn't he? Anyway, but that's by the by. Good evening, Sharpie. Hope you're well. Right, let's get into Hull FC. Again, very similar to Leeds. Let's be crystal clear on this one. What a season for Hull FC. Galvanised beautifully well. And this is how they look. So again, for the purposes of the podcast, this is their side going into the new season. Will Price, hopefully free of injury. He's at 1. Harvey Barron and Lewis Martin on the wings. In the centre spots, Davy Litton and Zach Hardacre. Jake Arthur, of course, has come in at 6. Aidan Caesar at 7. Herman Essa, we probably won't see him until about Easter time. He's still recovering from his Achilles injury. Amir Burra is at 9. Harvey Hill, fresh from Wigan Warriors, came out in the press as well this week. Harvey Hill saying that move was about game time. Really looking forward to getting plenty of game time at the MKM. Joe Batchelor, he's at 11. Jed Cartwright at 12. John Asiata at 13. Cust at 14. James Bell, 15. Sam Lizone, 16. Liam Knight, 17. Liggy Sow, 18. Tom Briscoe is 19. Yusuf Aiden, he's at 20. Arthur Romano from Catalan, he's at 21. Connor Bailey, 22. Brad Fash, the mullet to be feared, at 23. Logan Moy, the love child of Mr. Judson, he's at 24. Matty Laidlow is at 25. Hugo Salabio, 26. Callum Kemp, the Kemp boys, good players, 27. Joe Phillips, 28. Will Hutchinson, 29. Will Kirby is 30. Ryan Westerman, 31. Lloyd Kemp at 32. Coming to a cinema near you, a replay of the Kemps play? The Craze, wasn't it?
The Craze.
Yeah, Callum and Lloyd playing the Craze. Roman Dawson is at 23. 34 is Joe Ward. Sorry, 33, that should be. Joe Ward is 34. Ben Johnson, 35. And Lennon Clark, 36. Departed the club, Jack Charles. Did he bound forth on loan only to York? Jack Ashworth, Ed Chamberlain, Jordan Rapana, of course, retired. Jordan Lane, we saw him last week. And Oliver Holmes. We'll start. Who should we start with? We'll start with Joel. Joel, that looks like a squad that's improved to me.
Yeah, it does. They've got rid of some of the players that they needed to get rid of, unfortunately. Some they could have possibly kept, but it's salary cap sport. Hopefully, Will Price is going to be fit for them because he will make a difference. He's come back with vengeance, and he's because he was out for quite a bit of the last season. He'll be really wanting to keep his spot. But then when you got likes of Joe Batchelor, Sam Lissoni in there, and Arthur Romano, you're pretty kind of you're good with that because they already had a pretty good, they had a better squad last year than they did the previous years. And like you've said, this is a much better squad. So hopefully they galvanise pretty quick, and they'll be wanting as best they can to try and push towards the 6. and the fans will be backing them up. They've got some great fans who are constantly there, always cheering them on, even when they've lost, season after season after season. So big well done to the fans, and the players now need to be repaying that to them.
Reggie, in the same vein as Jake Connor, Aidan Season needs to back up arguably Aidan Season's best ever Super League season for me in 2025. I thought it was exceptional for them.
Yeah.
They just missed out on playoffs last year. They got some really bad injuries at the wrong time of the season and only just missed out on 6. This is a dangerous proposition for the likes of those teams that finished 6th and 5th last year, isn't it? This does feel like a stronger squad.
It does. And when you think of the horrible early home form last season, combined with the injuries that they had and were littered throughout the season to some of the big names in that squad, James Bell, for me, if James Bell can fire on all cylinders, he's a dangerous player. I think Joel mentioned Arthur Romano, one of those players that flies under the radar a little bit because of the names around him at Catalan, but does a good job. There's no reason if they can consolidate the home form and turn that awful early home form that they had last season around. And as we've already said on this chat, staying injury free. It's a contact sport. That it's very, very rare that you will go through a season and not have injuries to some of your main players that will see them miss the odd game or two. But yeah, I see that they've upgraded from last season. I can see them being a threat if they can find consistency over longer periods of the season than they did last season.
Sharpie's back in the chat, Steph. He says, is this the strongest pack in Super League? Is the question Sharpie's posing. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's one of the biggest. I still think there's a few questions in there, but there's no doubt. I mean, James Bell in there is going to be key because we all know the problems that John Asiata's had. I think for me that's one of the linchpins of FC's season is John Asiata and Will Price. I think those two are critical for Hull FC's season. When those two went last year, there was no doubt that their form dipped, and they weren't the team that we'd seen previously. So there's so much unknown in this squad. Jake Arthur, that's a key position. It's going to be really interesting to see how he goes. Harvey Hill's going to be interesting. Sam Lazzoni, we all know what he can do as a battering ram. Then we get Herman Essa coming back, which is great, and I'm really excited for the Kemp twins as well. What I've seen of them, I'm sure one of those is going to hit gold this year.
Oh, they're good players. I mean, they really are good players. Again, we'll go back to what we said a few moments ago. It's a very, very tricky one to call this year, but there's no doubt for me that does look on paper to be stronger. It's going to be interesting to see Harvey Hill. It's going to be very interesting to see Harvey Hill. Given the 10 shirt, so he's been given the responsibility, and it's going to be interesting to see how he goes for them. I thought Ashworth was decent for him. I've got nothing against Jack Ashworth. I think he's a good player. Like I say, I was surprised to see Jack Ashworth leave, and Deneve as well. I mean, obviously he fancies Cade Cust as this backup 9, doesn't he? Balmforth, I felt last year was really good when he went to Catalan. I thought he actually played a big part in changing their fortunes, I would say, some of his performances, Deneve. So, but obviously it's only a loan. He could come back. But yeah, that's a team to be reckoned with for me. And I think the Robins will probably be looking at that and maybe a bit more, I'm not cautious is the wrong word, but it's fair to say that the Robins have had it their own way in the derby for the last few years. I think there's enough there that hopefully it makes it a better contest, because I think a couple of, we want the whole derby to be a proper game of rugby league, and I think for whatever reason the last few years Robins have been very dominant. It could be that squad could lay a glove on them. Would you say, anybody?
Well, we've not even mentioned Harvey Barron and Lewis Martin. I think two of the most exciting young English wingers in the competition, and both could be lethal. If Lewis Martin was, was he top try scorer last year?
That's right.
And then Harvey Barron as well, who I thought at some points last season were outstanding for FC. So very, very, very dangerous back line. And like I say, if Will Price can stay fit and they can link in him with those wingers on some plays with Aidan Caesar, they're going to be very, very dangerous. So yeah, the nearest and dearest should have something to worry about if that starting team is facing them.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. Hull FC. This time last year, I was very dismissive of Hull FC. I think we had people in the chat saying that they were going to finish in this silly position that I said never in a million years. Don't get me wrong, they improved far more than I felt they would. But I won't be making those statements this year. I think that if they can keep them fit, it could be very interesting. The season up there at Hull, not only on the red and white side, but also on the black and white side. It's going to be very interesting indeed. We wish them well. Great stuff. Right, just as a little recap, let's not forget, you have the opportunity of winning this little Andy Farrell autobiography. You know what to do. Hype the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hype the show. Make sure you subscribe and let us know. Just send us an email or put something in the chat to tell us that you've subscribed and that you've shared and you've liked and you've hyped and all the rest of it. And you'll be in the draw for a free copy of The Only Way I Know, Andy Farrell. Should be a good read. Should be a belting read. Right, ladies and gentlemen, as advertised, today I had the opportunity of speaking to rugby league royalty. Here comes a little one-on-one with Chariots himself, Martin Offiah. So here we are with somebody who needs no introduction, the great Martin Offiah. Martin, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Outstanding. And today you've been here in your ambassador role with Wigan for the launch, and behind you is that wonder try all those years ago. Can't believe you're 60 years of age. Unbelievable.
I know I'm not quite up there with Billy Boston in tries or age, but I can't get him on the tries, but I'm still hanging in there and try and stay healthy. I was looking forward to having a game of paddle with Chris Radlinski and Gary Conley today, but the weather maybe has put paid to that. But yeah, it's fantastic to be involved. Still with the Warriors. I've it's been a few years since I left. I left in 1996, and the first time I really got back involved with the club was when Michael Maguire sort of brought me back in 2010 to write a speech for the team before the 2010 grand final. Fortunately, they won, and Chris Rads has put that speech above the gym on the exit, so the players can, look at it as they come out of the gym every day. And it's about the shirt, and regardless of how long you're here, what you do in that shirt and the legacy that you've created. And it's great to have a chat with some of the young players of today in the under 10s club, which John Duffy has set up to engage with players who are just coming into club and have played less than 10 games, and to really kind of, get them into the Wigan way and what's special about Wigan and the culture and the stuff, the connection that Matty Pete talks about, from the history of the club to the present day to the future of the club.
I mean, I've been watching you today, and there's been quite a couple of the younger Wigan players that have come over and had conversations, and I could tell just by your body language, you really enjoyed that, the opportunity to speak to the new blood that's coming through the club and impart your knowledge on them.
Very much so. I've spoken to the likes of Billy. I'm on a statue with Billy for eternity. So it is dragging that history of the club to the present day, and instilling that DNA into the future. And that's a really big part of what Wigan is about. It's a community club. You've got to think of all the players like myself, players like Ellery, players like Billy, who have been adopted by the club. We talked about the fantastic academy and how that breathes into the club. But Wigan has taken in players over the years, even the likes of Roy Francis, who came here, I think, back in 1937, which is, 20 years before Billy, and how these players have been adopted into the Wigan culture, and that's builds up. And I think it's very important, sometimes gets lost in the fact that, Wigan is the town. It's the fact that, the town has been so welcoming to players, of all origins, Green Vigo, Henson Gill, some great players of the past that have been adopted, even in the present day. Pat Richards, Bevan French, even Jay Fields. These are all players that have come from the other side of the world, but have been taken in and as Wiganers, and have had great careers in this town. And people who weren't even alive when they played still talk about those characters.
I mean, it's refreshing because it's the first time we've ever spoken, and it just radiates from you what this town means to you. Did you ever think when you signed for Wigan that you would be grabbed by the Wigan way, as you called it?
I didn't know, but something attracted me to Wigan. I know that, and even when I'd signed for Widnes, and I'd been at Widnes for 4.5 years, something within me knew that this is where I had to be. I had obviously offers to go and join Leeds. I had offers to stay in Australia and play for the Roosters or the Dragons. But something said to me, this is where I need to be. I didn't know what it was, but it was proved right. And I'm so thankful to Maurice Lindsay from the day that I joined his club. I remember, I think it was January the 4th, 1992. And I knew that it was the right place to be, and had a fantastic 4.5 years here, and so glad to be back here. As I say, I've been involved with Wigan since probably 2010 in different guises, but it's my 3rd year as a full ambassador with the club since Mike Danson has taken over. And I just feel like I'm in the right place. So I still live in London, but it's only an hour and 50 minutes up on the train. So it's quicker to get here than it is to get my youngest son from school to Tottenham.
Well, that's the road system in London, isn't it? But no, I mean, look, again, just watching you today, I mean, I love it when rugby league clubs put on functions where the legends of their club come back, and it's the same what I've witnessed with you today and Gary today. Is there's a warmth, isn't there? When you guys come back, the respect and love. It must be really humbling, as you say, because some of these people, some weren't old enough to see you play, but they still want to talk to you. They still remember, and they've been brought up on the tries that you scored.
Yeah, legacy is very important. And as I was speaking to the young players today, I said, if you create a moment that the people in this room today remember and tell their children, that's when you know that you've cracked that code. How do you get there? We don't know, but that's what you're trying to figure out. Yeah. And while you are trying to figure that out, that means doing the right things, putting the right processes in place, because you'll do everything right, because it takes a lot to do that.
Legacy. The word legacy. Finally, obviously, as one of the best wingers ever to come from out of these shores, the Super League is blessed with great wingers. We've seen the emergence of the likes of Lewis Martin, Harvey Barron, young Owen Dagnall at St Helens came through. He should have an exciting season. Young Zach Eckersley here, been given the 2 shirt this year. I can't remember a time where we had so many young wingers come at the same time. I mean, the Dream Team and the World Cup pick, it's going to be all on, isn't it, for the wingers this year?
Yes, I think it's going to be, it's going to be tough, but it's there. Every season is a blank slate, isn't it? Obviously Wigan had a fantastic season in 2024. The pressure to back up was tough, especially when things don't go your way. You have the injuries. There was a large period they were without Jay Field and Bevan last season, who were another 2 fantastic strike weapons. Obviously, as you said, Zach Eckersley has the number 2 shirt. So, as when I came to Wigan, this is a great place to be, but then there's a lot of pressure on your performances as well. Absolutely. And, with that number 2 shirt comes some expectancy. It's going to be a bit different. Now, I remember when Chris Radlinski came into the team, and the pressure that was on his shoulders, and we saw the career that he had. So if Zach can have a career half as good as that, things have gone well.
He'll be going somewhere. Look, on behalf of everybody who watches me, it's very rare that we get an opportunity of speaking to somebody with so much heritage in our game. Thanks for everything that you gave us on the field, but also for your promotion of it. We need ambassadors like you because you've got that national presence. So on behalf of everybody who loves this great game of rugby league, Martin, thanks very much for everything you've done for it.
Thanks very much.
So there you go, Chariots, and a big thank you as well from me to Martin. He said he was going to watch tonight. He actually stayed back to do that. You notice it was a very blank canvas behind us. He stayed behind to do that interview. So God bless him for that. But yeah, fascinating fascinating. He's a man that hated Mr. Ofia when he played for Wigan. You can't be anything but impressed, though, with how he talks about the cherry and white and the game in general.
No, it's the legacy aspect that intrigued me, and it's really good. I think every club has to link what's gone on in the past with what's going on now and what happens in the future. I think it's a huge part of the heritage of any club and to ingrain that into the culture. And I wouldn't have said I think hate is a strong word. If it had played for the Wire, I'd have loved him. But he was one of those players. He's a player in every generation. Wire had one in Brian Bevan, where every club has got a player where every other opposition fan just doesn't want to see them get the ball and attack their team. He was one of those players that could punish you given half a yard of space, not even that. But yeah, listening to him talk, you could listen to players like that talk all day. But I think it's an important point he makes about making sure the players coming through know the legacy of the club, know the culture of the club, and know what it's like to play for a team like Wigan and the expectancy that's on their shoulders.
I mean, obviously, you didn't see the room, but like I say, the warmth of the staff and the media and everybody associated with rugby league in that room for Ofia today was incredible to watch. Joel, I mean, again, it's one of those moments, isn't it? 5 years ago we started a project, and now we're interviewing Martin Offiah. It's mad, isn't it?
He's one of the greats, is Martin Offiah. And to hear him talk is very good. He's a very good speaker. You can listen to him talk all day, and it's a privilege to be able to speak to people like him. We know, yes, they are just humans, but humans have done a lot of things in the sport and for our game, and we can only be but eternally grateful to them for doing such. And when he's got that passion about a club, you kind of want your upcoming players and those that have gone to speak to him today to have that same fire in the belly, have that same passion for the clubs, regardless of who they're playing for, and that they can become the ambassadors of them clubs for the future. Because without people like Martin, Wigan may not have been the club that they were, because it took players like him and Ellie Hansen and them that were there, and Billy Boston that were before him, to make the club as great as it is. And we just want to say a massive thank you to him for giving us that time that he did for you today, Dave. And it was wonderful.
Yeah, incredible. And Steph, I know you're enjoying the videos and that we're managing to put out this year. One of the things that they mentioned today, Steph, in the room, because you've always admired Wigan as much as the Battle of the Borough. You admire Wigan as a club. I know that was tested a little bit last year with your shirts, but we won't go there. But you do admire them as a club and their infrastructure and the way that they operate. And one of the things they said today is that the younger players have to select a player to study from Wigan's past, and they make that person, and they have to present on them and all the rest of it. And what was really interesting, one of the Saints lads that they bought picked Gary Connolly. And today, Gary Connolly made the pilgrimage to that event for that player. And it's that you don't hear that a lot. And that's why we say a lot of the time, Wigan is a bit of a benchmark in terms of standards. And, I saw that firsthand today with how they're doing that. Very, very impressive, mate.
Absolutely, I just got a bit of goosebumps then when you said that. It's inspirational, isn't it? And Martin Offiah is 100% one of those characters as a person that grew up watching on VHS. I'm showing me age here now a bit. Not Betamax, but 101 greatest tries and a kick. And the legend Ray French, overlaying his commentary of Martin Offiah's greatest tries, and absolute legend. But yeah, just on the Wigan club, they are the blueprint, 100%. And yes, they are. As a Lee fan, they're completely resented in my town, but also very much respected in terms of the way they do things. And every club should look at the way that they treat their past players, the way that the heritage and what's instilled in that club is phenomenal. And people will say, "Oh, as a League person, you shouldn't be saying stuff like that," but I have massive respect for that club, for Wigan and what they do. They are, like I say, if you were to build a Super League club, you would base it on Wigan Warriors, and especially their academy system and the way they bring players through, and they're that good at it because they've been doing it for so long. But they get the small things right and the individual details right, and you've absolutely exemplified that with that Gary Connolly thing. To do that for that player, how special that must have been, and that's the reason why players will stay at that club regardless of money. Other transfer fees may come in, more money may be tempted, but they will stay with Wigan because of those reasons, because it isn't just about money.
No, well, today they spoke about culture. At no point today in any of the conversations that Chris Radlinski had, that Matt Pete had, there was no talk of winning. Winning was not spoken about. It was all about culture, integrity, the type of club they want to be, the type of player they want to attract, the way they want each individual in the club to represent that club and behave. And very, very refreshing. And I spoke to Matt Pete at length about that. There are some great interviews coming on Friday for our members as we go behind the scenes at the media day. We've got Junior Nsemba, we've got Bevan French, Jay Field, we've got Matty Pete, he's in there as well, and I'm missing people out. I will have to. Oh, Andy Fowles, another one. We got the great and the good that we had a good chat with at that Wigan Day today, and all of those interviews are coming your way. And as you would expect, everyone has a different feel because you know me, I don't ask the same questions all the time. I mix it up, I go with the flow, and I'm sure you'll find them very, very interesting when they land. So St Helens on Thursday, Wigan on Friday. Look forward to those coming down over the course of the next couple of days. And of course, we've got Tara Jones as well I'm interviewing tomorrow. Wow, where do we get the time? Anyway, moving swiftly on, let's get into the York Knights. Here we go. And welcome, we must say welcome to Super League, the York Knights. I think everybody, we've had Wakey, we've had Lee. Maybe York's that team this year. Maybe York's that team. The fact it's the first ever time in Super League, maybe York is going to be that guilty pleasure that everybody has this season. This is the team, a lot of change as well, must say that. A lot of change. So let's, again, for the purposes of the podcast, we'll go through the squad. Number one, Toa Matafoa. I've got to get my eyes on here. Martin Offiah, I'm going to go with. Apologies if that's wrong. We'll get the pronunciation right as the season goes on. Ben Jones Bishop. Everybody remembers Ben. 37 years old is our Ben. Unbelievable. He scored 30 tries last year, so still got it. Jordan Lip is at 3. Sam Wood at 4. Scott Galino, he's at 5. Atta Hingano is at 6. I know that Greg Roach was impressed with him when York went to Huddersfield, and of course Steph has seen him in closer quarters in the past. Liam Harris is 7. Jack Martin 8. Paul McShane, we all know him. Number 10, Paul Vaughan, he's new, as is Josh Griffin. Had a good season at Trin, Josh. So not a bad little pickup, that one, I don't think. Jesse D's at 12. Jordan Thompson 13. Denis Balmforth, he's at 14. Xavier Var, he's at 15. Justin Sangare at 16. Kieran Hudson 17. 18 is in memory of the fans. 19, Danny Richardson. Ollie Fields at 20. Kieran Buchanan 21. John Sagaga, he's at 20. What a name. John Sagaga. What a saga. 22, good man. John Benison, he's at 23. Will Dagger at 24. It was Mrs. White, no less. Number 25 is Jack Smith. 26 is Nico Williams. Matty Forster's 27. Ryan Jackson is, I think it's 28. 38 is Will Roberts. 40 is Taylor Pemberton. 41 is Mitch Clark. So a lot of names there that a lot of people who haven't followed York will not know. Some, of course, fly off the page. We'll try and fill in a few blanks for you here and there. I think this is a fascinating team. And like I said earlier in the show, what's very interesting about the Aussie players that they brought over, the vast majority, there's a couple of exceptions to the rule, but the vast majority are under the age of 25. Which is very interesting. So I for one, will be very interested to see how they do. They've littered it with experience, the likes of McShane. I think he's 36 now. He's Paul Vaughan, 34. Josh Griffin, coming to the latter stage. So they've got experience in the dressing room. But they've then got these younger players as well that.
And he's gone again.
Yes.
And there you go. And
here he is. He's back again.
You've got to stop doing that. I've told you, you've got to take it up. Don't just say I'm not there. Get on with it, man. Anyway, there you go. But anyway, there you are. That's the team. Joel, over to you. Your thoughts on you saw him, York at your gaff, mate. So you've seen a few of these players up close. And like I say, Greg Roach said that he was very impressed with Ngannou that day.
Yeah, very, very good player, in fact. You can definitely see why he's got the number 6 shirt, and hopefully he's going to make an impression in Super League. The thing is, though, he is going up against a lot of tough competition, so we're going to see just how good he really is. Like we say, pre-season doesn't say much, but it does give you an idea as to how good or not as good these players can be. And I think what York have done, they've got it right this year, in the sense of, no matter where they finish, whether they finish top or bottom, they have to be coming into Super League like this. They've got to have that mix of youth and experience, because without that experience, they would really struggle. And more than anything, it's just about knowing how to get around a park with a Super League club. So Ben Jones-Bishop and your Paul McShane's and Paul Vaughan, with the experience he's got from the NRL and Super League, it's going to really make a difference. So yeah, very interested to see how they go this year. But Ngannou, I think, is going to be probably the standout player for them and the one to watch week in, week out. But we will see as the season goes along. But it's good that they've got Danny Richardson in there, so that's a really good backup there for in case any of the halves go, because Danny is a great player. So yeah, we're very excited to watch York play this year.
Yeah, and another player there that, again, if you've not watched York, Liam Harris at 7. Liam last season got the Graham Stedman Player of the Year award and also was shortlisted for the Betfred Championship Player of the Year. So the 7-6 combo, of course, they've got to step up to Super League. We know that. But that's going to be very, very interesting indeed for me at 6 and 7. Greg, some of these pickups from Super League. Sam Wood fell out of favour at Castleford, but I think I might have said it last week or the week before. Sam Wood was in, 2 seasons ago, he was in the mid-season international against France, and then he picked his injury up. That's how good Sam Wood can be. Good player. Justin Sangari, we saw shades of what he was about last year. I mean, he was a man possessed against KR and Warrington in those 2 games.
Yes, he was.
So if these guys, attribute themselves well at York, they could be very astute signings for Mark Offiah. I think he's done well to pick these players up. Sam Wood, yeah, you're right. But for an injury, he may well have been still at Castleford or whatever. But this is the perfect team, I think, for players like him to return to form, to regather their form, because they're an unknown quantity. They've got a good pack leader in Paul Vaughan. We all know what Paul Vaughan can do. A fresh environment will do him the world of good, and leave whatever baggage there was at Warrington behind him. Paul McShane, experienced, has been there a while. And yeah, Josh Griffin he's no slouch in the second row. So I think Justin Sangari, like you say, he ripped Warrington apart last season at the Halliwell Jones. John Bennison, that's an astute pickup as well. And Joel's mentioned Danny Richardson, who is an experienced halfback that if things start to go wrong at 6 and 7 could very well be brought in to bring some stability there. So I think you're right, Dave. I think York are an unknown quantity. They could finish top 6, they could finish bottom. But I think it's a great place for these players that have come from other clubs to refine the form, to get some confidence, and to play at a top level. Yeah, and I go back to the ages of these lads that have come in. They're all pretty. They've got the careers ahead of them. They've all got the careers ahead of them, and some of these Australian lads that have come over, that they'll want to go back at some point. I mean, like Ryan Jackson, Caton Point, 22 years old.
Yeah.
He's only 22. He's represented Queensland at under 18 level. He wants to come over here, make a name for himself, and potentially get back home as quickly as he possibly can. So I do think, and we've said this, Steph. I can't remember if it was last year or this, that we'd rather see younger Queensland Cuppers come over who have got fire in the belly than salary cap being spent on the last hurrah. And people will say, "Oh, well, Paul Vaughan," but you've got to have 1 or 2 of them to bring experience into your dressing room and a winning mentality. But Mark Applegarth here, for me, he hasn't done that. He's brought a couple of those in, but the vast majority are up and coming potential superstars. We'll have to see how they go, but I think he might have got this spot on, Steph.
Yeah, well, I think that for me, this is the biggest benefit of increasing the quota to 10, 10 spots, because in a salary cap sport, you've got to be frugal with where you spend your money. And that by its very self leads itself to picking up Queensland Cup and New South Wales Cup players. So, and then we unearth some gems, don't we? So that's the biggest benefit to this, and it doesn't affect the academies and stuff. If those academy players are going to make it, they're going to make it anyway. So there's some names here we don't know, but there's also some names here in a year's time we're going to be talking about.
But again, I'll just pick another couple out for you. So Jack Smith, Leeds graduate, is young Jack. Spent a bit of time at London Broncos. Played 14 times with them. He kicked 49 goals in his time there. Scored 5 tries. He was named the Championship Player of the Year last year. Was Jack Smith. So that, fair play to him for that. And then you've got the 2 lads they've took from Saints. You've got Will Roberts, 20 years of age, number 38 there, plays halfback. And again, going back to Steph's point in terms of the benefit of these additional sides, Will Roberts, right? He's behind, we know Saints have got a Jackson Hastings, spoiler alert, Tristan Saylor is 6. That's a bit of a spoiler alert. It would appear that Tristan Saylor will be starting the season at 6. Me and Greg got that, I think, pretty clear yesterday when we were at Saints. Yeah. So they're going to be there. They've then got Lomax under that. They've then, of course, got George Whitby under that. Will Roberts, off he goes to York. Now, if York was still in the Championship, he will be playing Championship Rugby League. Will Roberts this season has got an opportunity of further development at 20 years of age in Super League. That wouldn't have happened in a 12-team comp. Tony Pemberton, also from Saints, 22 years old, a hooker. Daz Clark is there. You've got Burnsy that's there. Tony's clearly blocked. So I'm off to York. And I'm going to back up, Paul McShane. So for me, I completely agree with what you're saying, Steph. These lads are not getting these opportunities if it's not a 14-team comp. So I'm fascinated to see how the Queensland Cuppers go, but also the aforementioned Jack Smith, Will Roberts, Tony Pemberton, these young lads that for whatever reason can't make it at Saints or can't make it at Leeds, but now have an opportunity to put a bit of egg on those teams' faces.
Yeah.
To say, right, you didn't want me, did you? And, imagine if some of these, or one of these lads shine this year in Super League. What a great story that's going to be. So, do we expect York? I mean, the risk of disagreeing with me, old mate, I don't see York in the top 6, nowhere near it. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be fascinating to watch. It's going to be interesting to see, that word culture. What are York about as a Super League team? What type of rugby is Mark going to get them playing? What are these young lads going to be all about? Because they're going to bring enthusiasm. There's no doubt about that. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see York, and I'm up there on the 6th of March to watch the Warrington-York game. Really looking forward to seeing Mark Applegarth while I'm up there. And I think this could be very interesting. I think we should be very, very happy that we've got York Knights in the Betfred Super League in 2020.
It also backs up a point that we were talking about before, Dave, a few months ago about whether we should be having 14 teams in the Super League. A lot of people in the chat were saying we haven't got good enough players. Well, I think we do. I think we've got plenty of good enough players. There's some players that are still playing in Championship now that could be playing Super League. So, even if it expanded to 16 teams and meet the NRL at the 17 teams, I think we've got enough quality there. And this is the perfect way to stride forward for us to prove that we have. And if these young lads, like you said, can, throw a bit of egg on the faces of the parent clubs where they were from, then people start to realise that they need to retain some of the players instead of getting rid of them. And if not, clubs like York will pick them up.
Opportunity, Joel. That's what it brings. You're absolutely spot on. And that's what people have been crying out for, isn't it? People have been crying out for opportunity for academy players who can't get into, your bigger clubs like your Wigan, your Leeds, who produce fantastic academy products. These are the clubs now that can give them opportunity.
Well, I
And
mean, look,
that was always the stumbling block to get them into Super League.
and again, just going to this point about quality, right? I mean, Xavier, another one, right? 22, came through the South Sydney pathway, right? Brilliant, outstanding. You know, he's played NRL, he's debuted at the Roosters, he's played for the Roosters. 44 appearances in the New South Wales Cup. But here's one for you. Again, you know, because I'm very appreciative that people might not know who these players are. He captained Queensland at under-19 at Origin.
Yeah.
Now that tells you something. You know, how many kids can boast that they have captained Queensland at under-19, and that tells you that at that point in his career development, this guy was top draw. He's now 22. He's got an opportunity in Super League. Again, fascinating to see how he's going to go, because if he can develop, if he can develop in Super League to what we've seen other players do over the years, Tom Amon, Tilly, all of these, then all of a sudden we've got a comp. Even at the bottom end of the table, we've got a comp. I think there's too much dismissing going on before the thing even gets going in the lower echelons of Super League. And I, for one, you know, and I might get egg on my face when I say this, but we celebrate our sport. We want to see the best possible version of Super League. I'm excited by it, and I've got no expectation, but I'm excited. And I think, you know, whenever you see young players express themselves on a rugby league field, it can only be a good thing. So, like I say, really looking forward to these unknowns at York this year. And I'm sure we'd all wish Mark Applegarth and everybody at York the best possible season that they could have, because I think it's great for Super League, brilliant for Super League that we've got York in there. Absolutely marvellous. Right, okie dokie. Very, very mindful of the time. We've gone over a little bit tonight, but we did have Martin Offiah, so I'm not apologising for that. You know, you're allowed to go over if you've got chariots on your show, haven't you? Let's be crystal clear on that. But anyway, I don't know if you saw this last week's, folks, but it's back again tomorrow. Championship Rugby League with Craig Lingard and myself. Of course, it won with the 21st, with the 28th. That's last week's graphics. But yes, we are back tomorrow, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. If you like your Championship Rugby League, if you want to get closer to Championship Rugby League, then join me and Craig 7 p.m. tomorrow night for episode 2 of Championship Rugby League with Craig Lingard. Just another addition to Super League Raw in 2026. Boys, as always, loved your company. If you've joined us for the first time tonight, come back again next week. Tell all your friends about us. Don't forget to hype, subscribe, and like. You might win an Andy Farrell book. And join us same time, same place, 8 p.m. next Tuesday for more Super League Raw Weekly. And this is just other things that you can look forward to in 2026 from us. From all of us, good night. And don't forget, if you remember, the social club, or should I say the after show party, is just about to start. The link is in the WhatsApp group. And if you've joined via YouTube, just send us a quick email now to info@superleagueraw.com, and I will fire over that invitation for you so you can carry on the conversation for the next half an hour or so with friends. What did you make of what me and the boys have had to say tonight? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Get yourself over to the after show party. From all of us to all of you, see you next week. Bye for now.